Hi guys, this is Long White Mane again, the channel where if you grow your hair down to your butt, you'll never have a bad hair day. Okay, um, today's video is on being a caregiver to the mentally ill. If you don't know, I have bipolar 2. Um, I'm pretty steady and balanced on my medications, so I haven't needed anybody to step in and care for me for years. I'm one of those rare gems that cooperates with treatment and takes my medication regularly because I don't like me off medication. I like me happy and friendly and able to take care of roommate. Okay, before I start, I have to get something straight. I hate the word recovery when it's used on people who have serious mental illness like me, and I'll tell you why. When you have schizophrenia, when you have bipolar 2, bipolar 1, schizoaffective disorder, recovery means getting well, all right? Recovery means getting over a cold, being cancer-free, okay? Getting well after surgery, you recovered it well. In my brain and in my world, recovery does not apply. Do you know why? Because we are mentally ill our entire lives. I will have to take psychotropic medications for the rest of my life. There is no recovery. There's balance and there's function, but there is no recovery. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. If you disagree, that's good too. That's good too. You know, there's we need people of all flavors in the world, and I don't knock you for it if you disagree. But I wanted to start that off. Uh, that's just my opinion. I even I've I've seen my psychiatrist for the last 13 years, and he made the mistake of using the word recovery once, just once. And I yelled at him. You could hear it in the front office. I said, "Don't you dare use that word to me ever again because it's a fallacy." He said, "What are you talking about?" And I told him what I told you. You know, recovery means getting well. There is no wellness when you're mentally ill. There's coping, there's functioning, and there's balance at the best of times, but recovery, in my opinion, does not apply. Okay. Now, having said that, and again, it's my opinion. If you choose to use the word recovery in your illness, feel free. That's okay. You know, obviously, you do what makes you feel best. Okay. So anyway, being an effective caregiver for a mentally ill person can be really hard, because you never know what's going to come out of our mouths. We may not cooperate with treatment. Hold on a second. I got to figure out if my dog's chewing on anything. Nope, you're okay. The reason I had to check that is somebody threw rotten ham over the fence to poison our dogs this evening. BD brought in several pieces, and if I find out who did it, I'm going to file a police report. Okay. We live around. I live in kind of a bad area. A lot of gangbangers. A lot of. Excuse me, but a lot of assholes in this neighborhood. All right, getting back to being an effective caregiver for the mentally ill. Um, for one thing, you need to get to know the mental illness that they're diagnosed with, whether it's depression, bipolar 1, bipolar 2, schizoaffective disorder, whatever the label is, get to know that. Learn about it. Google it, read Wikipedia, read everything you can on it if you're going to be a caregiver. Usually people who are not mentally ill, you know, it's kind of like they don't get it, because it's kind of like me. I can't relate to a combat veteran because I've never been in combat. I have no clue what that's like. And a lot of mentally healthy people have trouble relating to mentally ill people because they don't understand. And that's the way, that's the human condition. It's the way it is. But, you know, ask that person, you know, how does it feel to be so ill? What are you going through? You know, if they'll talk to you, and hopefully they will. Ask them how it feels. You know, what makes it worse? What are the triggers that stresses you that might trigger an episode of mania or depression, or, you know, something that might irritate the schizophrenic person into an episode? You know what I'm saying? learn what makes it worse. Find out if you've done anything that makes it worse. What it was that agitated that person. Um, find out when they feel good. You know, it may be hard to pinpoint if the person's depressed, because depression not only affects your body, it affects your soul. It doesn't just hurt physically, it hurts psychically. It's just a horrible thing. So, you know, find out what they did that made them feel better. And in finding that out, you might be able to help them pick a hobby of some sort. Um, find out what things make them feel better. Okay. And in a lot of cases, that conversation may come a much later, after they've been stabilized. And, if they don't use the word recovery, I use stabilized. Sorry, not going to use the word recovery. Just won't do it. I have no idea what recovery means. I don't. It's not appropriate for me. Okay, I got to quit bitching about that. Okay, so you're caregiving to this mentally ill person. Okay, encourage them to get treatment. Can I find a doctor for you? Um, can I find a patient assistance program for your medication? We can get samples from the doctor. Help them get on a regimen, get on a routine that involves taking their medication properly, even if you have to administer it yourself at first. Especially with depressed persons who, the poor folks are pinned to the bed. They can't even move. They're so down. They're so depressed. This close to suicide. And you get them treatment and they get on an appropriate medication. And who knows, a week later, they may get up and take that shower for the first time, in a long time. So not only get to know them and their triggers, but get to know the medication. Get to know, if they're prescribed something like, say, for example, a bipolar is often prescribed lithium. A lot of doctors still reach for that. Lithium is basically a salt, but it does have side effects. It does make you fat. Okay, that's part of it. And being on any medication, whether it's a psychotropic drug or even just an antibiotic, what is it? It's a balancing act, right? The pros, the cons, the pros, the cons. If I take this medication, can I handle the side effects? And there's so many, and the good news is there are so many medications out on the market today, old ones, new ones, and ones coming up the pike or down the pike. There's a lot of choice out there. So what doesn't fit initially another drug may fit beautifully. For example, a lot of these drugs are very powerful, especially for bipolar. I take an antipsychotic. Okay, that helps me stay very stable. And I take an antidepressant as well. Those are 2 pills. They've worked well for years, so I keep taking that, and it works well. I was lucky, though. I had a good psychiatrist who was open-minded enough to use both old drugs and new drugs rather than push the latest thing down the pike. He's a good guy, and there's a reason I've been with him for 13 years. Okay, enough about me. Like I said, learn the side effects of the medication. Watch for them. Some of these medications cause stroke, seizures. They're that powerful if they're taken inappropriately. Also, there's little side effects. There's stomach upset, maybe diarrhea. Nobody wants to talk about that. All the way up to the medication causing them to want to self-harm. There was one medication I was on for a brief time. I think it was just about 2 weeks. And by the end of that 2 weeks, I felt like I wanted to come out of my skin. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't rest. It was horrible. And I know which one it was, but I'm not going to share it with you. Privacy, and, I don't want to influence anybody one way or the other. But that particular medication was just wrong. I switched to another one, and it was absolutely perfect. So make sure that you're getting the best medication for the best results. Please be prepared as a caregiver to call an ambulance when you need it. All right? If that person is showing evidence that they want to kill themselves or say they want to kill themselves, take it seriously. You know, there's a bullshit myth that says if a person is talking about killing themselves, they're not going to do it. Bullshit. I've lost too many friends that have talked about it and killed themselves. All right. And I've also had them kill themselves when they weren't talking about it. So, you know what? If you don't understand it, keep your mouth shut and learn about it. You know, don't go by these, what do you call it? These suburban or urban myths that you hear about suicidal people. You know, Robin Williams committed suicide and he didn't tell anybody. Okay? There you go. Like I said, be prepared to call 911, you know, for your safety and that person's. Also have a suicide hotline ready on your phone. You may not, you know, that person may be suicidal and not wanting to hurt anybody else, but you know, there's trained counselors on these suicide hotlines that know what to say, how to say, that kind of thing. And if you're not prepared for that, that's cool. Make sure they can talk to somebody on the phone. It may make a world of difference for them, you know. Use what works is what I say. If it works, use it. You know, if it's not harming you or that person, use it. And like I said, I'll have that stuff all down in the you know, I'll have it down there linked for you, as well as help for veterans. I care about them an awful lot. I admire veterans. They're amazing people, but they go through stuff that I can't understand. And when I run across a mentally ill veteran, I do listen, but I explain to them, look, you know, I can listen to you, but I can't understand. I can't know what you went through. But I have a friend who does, and I point them to that veteran, okay? So I've got people and resources I can go to help the person properly, you know? Um, you know, and also, you know, start to give that person some freedom. You know, if it's a person that, you know, you've gone to the psychiatrist, you found some medication that's working, the schizophrenic symptoms and hallucination and voices are starting to, you know, calm. The bipolar person is starting to find balance, that kind of thing. The depressed person is showing signs of perking up. Maybe they're sitting up in bed, you know. Encourage them to be self-determined, to do things for themselves. Encourage freedom, you know. A lot of times, you know, a lot of times there's mentally ill people that are just terrified of making their own lunch, making a peanut butter sandwich. You know, they just find that overwhelming, you know. Other times you'll get a mentally ill person and, oh my gosh, they are ready to take on the world. They're ready to get their own apartment. They're ready to have a job, you know, that kind of thing. So you get to know your person and give them that freedom that they need. And it's scary sometimes, you know, like, should I have done that? And you find out, yeah, you should have, you know. So, like I said, you'll get to know that mentally ill person unless you know them well already. Um, Remember to be a friend to them as you're working with them. Listening obviously is wonderful, but many times many mentally ill people feel isolated because they don't think anybody has ever gone through what they've gone through, right? You know, they don't think anybody understands how they feel, and that's just not true. There are millions of us that suffered from depression. There are millions of us that have schizophrenia, and there are millions of us that have bipolar disorder. So, you know, get them to a support group. Get you to a support group as a caregiver if you need it. Take care of yourself first, make yourself balanced and happy, then you can be a better caregiver to that other person. I say that all the time and I encourage it. Being a caregiver is tough. Being a friend is tough, you know, to a mentally ill person, you know. It's not easy. You know, you never know what they're going to say or do.
No, you do.
So that's about it. You know how to take care of yourself, you know how to get support groups, so take care of yourself. Thanks.